down there.
Alright guys, so welcome to forming and pouring the second part of my first floor. So in this video we're going to be pouring this utility room here, as well as the deck out back, which is going to be an exterior deck with an overhang. So we're going to skip around a little bit. You can see I already poured the main part of the floor there, but now we're going to go back to where we were doing all the work here and at the front there. And by the way, since I know a few people asked me this question and I didn't cover it in the last video, I put 1 inch of insulation right here, and then it's inset by 1.5 inches. So when I'm done, I can put another 1.5 inches of foam right here so that this will all be filled in here. I didn't want to waste another row of ICFs going all the way around. Besides, it was more work too. I already put some framing right here, and then I put this OSB, and I'm going to put that insulation on top of here, and then just kind of waterproof the sides here. That way this part of it can be weatherproof for a while, and I can heat it inside and store stuff down there for now too, like tools and whatever else I need to store. So what we're going to do here is make a 2-foot overhang going around all 3 sides of this. This is going to be an exterior deck.
That's it.
Try crown on that one.
Holy macaroni salad. Crown up. That's fucking bowled out central.
Okay. Perfect. That's good. Perfect. All I got to do is make sure that it doesn't go past this plane here, and then
You're gonna mark this out, right?
somewhere in the middle there. I could just use the doorway as the 4-footer. This is a cold saw for cutting rebar, and it's the same as any of my other cold saws. It cuts really fast. You can get a lot of cuts out of the blade, and there's no heat to it either.
Here? Where are you going? All the way to the end?
Yeah, that's good. What I want is a little bit of a pitch from here out to that way so that water drains that way. So what I'm already going to have is a 3-inch step down from there, and when I finish this slab here, I edge this so that it's got a nice curved edge to it. And then I'm going to drop it down 3 inches, and that's where this deck's going to be. But at the same time, I also want an inch of pitch between there and there, which is about 12 feet. Which an inch on 12 feet is not a lot, but it's more than you would have in a gutter, because a gutter only utilizes a 1/2 inch per 10 foot. So this should, in theory, drain most of the water. If the water gets really backed up, it's not going to drain off that fast, but it doesn't really matter, because I'm going to seal this area right here with something that's elastic that can move, because there's going to be a cold joint right here, so water could get down in there. So I'll make sure that that always stays sealed, and that's easy to check later on too. So what I'm going to do to get this inch pitch, I ran this plywood above here. So now what I'm going to do is just get my marks on the corners, snap lines, and then I'll take a skill saw and just cut that so it's exactly where I need to be. That way we can just screed this out the traditional way instead of using the laser. Because when you use the laser and you got a pitch to follow, it's a little bit more complicated. But this is small enough span here where I can just use my 12-foot magnesium screed board and just hit the edges with it. That way I don't have to use a laser. So I just want to get an inch of pitch from there to there. I welded this 1/2 inch extension on here, and then I just used a socket, and because it's got like a tapered end on it, it really helps bend it around the corner better. And it's pretty strong too. This thing has gone through about 800 of these, which that's 1600 bends. This one socket has gone through that, and it's looks like it's still fine. I was using this pipe at first, but the end kept like flaring out. It wasn't strong enough, so doing it this way worked good. Plus I figured you could just put a new socket on if anything happened. And then I just used these studs here, these shear studs that I use for the I-beams, and I took this 3/4 inch plate and welded it onto this concrete bench here, and then I just kind of figured out where they went, welded them on, and it works great. So we made a lot of stirrups. These are 10 inches from outside to outside. This is number 3 bar, which is 3/8. And I just have marks on here, so you put it up to this mark to start, you bend it, and then you make sure the other end goes to this mark, and then you bend it again, and that way every one of them is within like an 1/8 inch of the other one. All right, so we're all finished up with both of these slabs here. I did a broom finish on this. And remember, I have an inch, actually it's 1.25 inches of pitch from there to there. And then I also decided to add another 1/2 inch of pitch just right here in the first foot, just to make sure that the water really goes that way. We use the edger to make sure that it's a nice round bullnose edge. It's nice and strong too, it won't chip away once we take the forms off. This one here is just kind of floated and troweled by hand. Blended in the best I could right here. So that's the entranceway, that's like the mudroom of the house. I'm gonna box this off here, and there's gonna be a door going in the basement there, and then another door to go in to this entire area right here, a closet right here. So the rest of the slab turned out pretty good. I finally was able to take the blankets off because we had a few days above freezing at night. So the mix for this was 4,000 psi, small stone, 1% accelerator. I used a mid-range plasticizer in it. I had to get an outdoor mix because this is going to be exposed. I may later on actually enclose this whole thing and maybe even put some walls on it. But for right now, that's going to be my back deck. And so I'll put up some metal railings with probably some cables between them for safety. And then I might have a set of stairs going down both sides eventually. So let me take you back to where I was a few years ago when I started planning this out. At first, I was just going to have a retaining wall here that was coming out, and then there would be a door over there, and then so I still needed the step footings either way. But then as time progressed and I got thinking about it, I thought maybe if I'm going to go with a concrete floor, that maybe I'll just make the deck over top of this area, and then that way this actually is part of the house instead of the door being right there. Now the door's out here, so now we have this whole like free space kind of here. It's kind of like a bonus room really, because I didn't really spend that much more to do this than I would have to do what I was originally going to do, except now I have more space inside. Because I didn't want the side of the house to just be flat and then the grade tipped down on both sides to it. I really wanted it like this, like kind of like protrudes out. I gave this a nice 2.5 inch lip right there so that the snow doesn't go like up to the door and like run in. I guess the snow could still get 3 feet tall, and then that doesn't really matter, but for the most part, for rain and everything, this is good enough. There's not really much else you're gonna do besides put a huge step here, which I don't want that. And big overhangs help too, which I will probably have a 2-foot overhang, but that's not really a huge overhang. If I don't put a roof on this, I could put a little awning right over the door, and that would help. Another plan that I had originally was that I could just come out with the retaining wall and then make it linked into the other foundation and do it all at once, like kind of like I did, and then I could do like a wood deck over it. But then I got thinking, like, where's the water gonna drain to? And I don't want to use like a flat roof system or anything like that, so this is like a good compromise because it's not either one of those. You guys will see when I'm done with this house, it's not going to look like a hospital or anything like industrial, commercial like that. It's going to look like a house. And the only thing about it that's going to be a little bit industrial is just going to be this deck right here. But again, I may come up with 2 posts. I made sure I didn't put the radiant heat right in the corner, so I could come up with 2 4x4s and I could support something and then tie it into the building. And that way I could have a roof and then maybe eventually some walls. Because I could make another deck on top of this one, and then that would be my second floor porch, which could be open on the top, but close this off by doing that. I decided to put the radiant heat in there because I wanted to be able to melt the snow, because I just had like pipe laying around and it cost me almost nothing to put that in, and it took like 2 hours. So I figured I'll put that in there and then I'll hook it into the rest of my snow melting systems. I'm gonna have a snow melting system for my driveway going all the way out to the road. I'm gonna have another one in the roof. The whole roof is gonna be snow melt system. So I figured I might as well just put this in with the snow melts, because that's gonna be a different system than the geothermal, and I'll use an antifreeze in that. Everything else doesn't need antifreeze, but that will need some antifreeze, so I will put that on a separate system with all the other snow melting devices. But the other thing is too, is if I want to close that off, I still have heat for it. And then I can just tie it in with the rest of the geothermal system and it'll be its own zone. So I can heat it if it becomes indoor space. So a lot of things I'm doing here, I'm like killing two birds with one stone and trying to prepare for what I might want in the future. So that's kind of where I'm at, in case you guys were just wondering like what is going on here. Those are my thought processes through the whole thing, and I've been planning this out for a while. One thing that I do need to figure out for this whole house, since I'm going to be using a concrete roof, I need to figure out like a drip edge. So what I was thinking, I was going to try to incorporate something into there, like taking some coil stock aluminum and like bending it into the pour, and then it just kind of like wet set, and then it kind of like holds out like that and then directs the water. But then I got thinking maybe I should let it cure, and then I'll snap a line going across it and make like a saw cut on it, and then stick the aluminum in the saw cut with some waterproofing, like some sort of adhesive that's waterproof. That way it adheres it into it like an anchor, plus it also makes it waterproof going all the way around it. And then I would just have a piece of aluminum sticking out just to direct the water down so it doesn't dribble down the face. That's the whole point of drip edge, so that the water doesn't dribble down the face or the fascia. So I'll do that here and we'll see how that works, and then maybe I can modify it or just keep doing that for the roof too. This will be a good test for that. I really only need the drip edge on this end because all the water is directed this way. At one point I was going to try to slope it this way too, but it was just too complicated, so I just sloped it all this way. I don't think it's enough slope to even notice while you're up there, but it's enough to run the water off. This concrete bucket on the crane worked out really good. That definitely made it so that we could do this. I could have used my excavator, but it would have been a lot more sloppy and a lot more dangerous. So this made quick work out of that. We were probably putting about a yard in each time. So one really neat thing that maybe not a lot of you have realized is that I now have a structure that I can go in and it won't get wet anymore. Concrete's not waterproof, but for the most part, it's gonna be like super dry in here in a few days. Once I seal that plywood up over there, this whole thing, you could live in here if you wanted to. I think the most you'd ever get is just a couple drops running down the wall maybe, just because it like goes around the insulation and down. I can almost guarantee you that in a week, once this floor is dried up, you'll never see water in here again. So for people that are building a house, this is actually a really good option if you want to actually just live in here. You could literally put the bathroom in and make a temporary kitchen, make a temporary bedroom. Even the shoring, like you could put little individual rooms between the shoring walls for now and then take them out after 30 days. If I sell my house soon, I could live in here if I wanted to. So we'll see how that goes. But in the next few videos, I'm going to be installing the plumbing, the electric, probably the geothermal if I can get to it, or some other type of radiant heat system, maybe just a temporary one. And I'm going to try to work on this bathroom, but that's probably going to be another month or so. This was my goal for this whole year, is just to get to this point. And I wasn't sure if I was going to get to this point because of the cold weather. It was really close. But I'm really glad that it's done, and now I can move on, and I got to get my other house fixed up so I can sell it, so that in the spring I can just keep building and then move in. So I'm going to put these concrete blankets on here, and then I'll start working downstairs and doing some other miscellaneous things. So I'll catch you guys on the next video.